repeated conduct directed at a person that would cause someone, a reasonable person, to fear for their safety or the safety of others. We're looking at bodily safety. That is one of the limitations of our policy. It does not focus on emotional abuse or psychological harm or impact. It does focus on kind of the bodily integrity. However, one of the resources that we have prominently listed in our resource sheet, our CARE group, they provide support around all concerns related to sexual harassment, sexual violence, including the more emotional psychological harm. So they are a resource to any individual who's a participant in this particular program that's experiencing a concern. It's also reportable to our UC Davis Police Department, so that there's also a law enforcement option if that's something that people choose. Reporting to HDAPP is not reporting to law enforcement. Reporting to law enforcement is not the same as reporting to HDAPP. They're separate and distinct, but we will work together as needed. We also our policies prohibit dating or domestic violence. We define that fairly broadly in the sense of how we define what constitutes a dating or domestic relationship. So it could be married, cohabitating, dating for a period of time. Currently or past, having a child together constitutes a relationship under our policy. And we're looking at that kind of conduct by a romantic partner or an intimate partner that intentionally causes bodily injury or recklessly causes someone to have reasonable fear for their bodily integrity. Again, potential criminal element as well. That is reportable to law enforcement. And so it's a choice that people have to report to us, law enforcement, or both. Okay, and then our sexual violence policy is broader than perhaps at other institutions. In California, we have a law that requires us to define consent affirmatively. It's the yes means yes standard as opposed to the no means no standard. So that is a much broader perspective on how we define consensual sexual activity. We're looking for affirmative, yes, someone has enthusiastically, clearly indicated a desire to participate in whatever the sexual activity is. Clearly it's conscious. People that are asleep or incapacitated cannot consent. Voluntary, so not under duress, not under threat or force. It's revocable at any time. The minute that consent is revoked is the minute that the next action beyond that would constitute a potential violation of our policy. And for us, when we define incapacitated, we're looking at the kind of drunk or high to the point where decision-making is affected. We recognize that people sometimes have a drink or two before engaging in sexual activity, but if that person is unable to fully understand what's happening, understand what their consent is meaning, then that may be a potentially a violation of our policy and reportable to us for support. Okay. We also are the same office to handle concerns related to discrimination and harassment on the basis of protected identity. So harassment, very similar to our sexual harassment standard. We're talking about unwanted or physical conduct that unreasonably interferes with someone's ability to participate in this program. So we're talking about that hostile work environment. Again, those two factors come back into play: severity of behavior and then the frequency of behavior. The more severe, the less frequent it has to occur. The less severe the behavior, the more frequent it has to occur. Do you have to worry about whether or not something truly violates policy before you reach out to our office for support? Absolutely not. If someone has a concern, they feel like they're experiencing sexual harassment, sexual violence, discrimination, and they need support, it doesn't matter if it's a violation of policy. It's certainly something that can be reported to us so that we can get them whatever they need so that they can fully participate. And then for our discrimination, we put this in here because people sometimes confuse discrimination with harassment. Discrimination is actually an adverse action taken against someone because of their protected identity. So it's a little bit different from the harassment, which is that behavior, that conduct that's occurring because of someone's identity. Discrimination is the adverse action. Okay, we gave you a negative grade. We put you out of a class and said you couldn't participate, and that person believes it's because of their identity. Then that's something that's reportable to our office for support. This is the institution's list of protected identities. So it's based from the Department of Fair Employment and Housing list, so it's consistent with that. It's fairly expansive here in California because we're California. So we take a fairly broad view. Is there anything on this list that people are not familiar with? I don't want to move too quickly through the list, but anything on here that people are like, I'm not familiar with that particular? Yes. Genetic information, absolutely. As science begins to advance, we're starting to know a lot more about people's predilection or predispositions for certain kind of illnesses. If someone were to find out, let's say, that they have a marker for a breast cancer gene, as an employer, we cannot discriminate against that individual and say we're not going to hire you, we're not going to allow you this type of health insurance. So that's genetic. Thank you for that. Okay, so this is for our folks in the audience who are employed by the institution, so that you know if you have a concern and you report something to someone we call our responsible employees, they have an obligation to bring that forward to our attention. Okay? Responsible employees for student concerns are all UC employees. Anyone that receives a paycheck from UC Davis that hears a concern about a student experiencing sexual harassment or sexual violence, they have to report that directly to our office. All the information that they know, including names of individuals, we do not guarantee anonymity for folks or confidentiality. When we hear a concern, it has to be brought forward. And really all we want to do is give them support resources and see what they want to do. We don't usually take over a concern and move without someone's permission unless we absolutely have to. So we always make sure that our complainants are well aware of what our process is going to look like, that we don't take over their concern without their express understanding of what that policy is going to look like. And then for our staff and faculty concerns, the responsible employees are just our supervisors and faculty, HR professionals, and the like. So bringing forward a concern to probably anyone at that table means somebody there will probably be in contact with me, and then I will reach out to individuals who are impacted for resources and ask them what they want to see done. Okay? So there should be no worry that if someone comes forward, the university is going to do something without them being aware of what that process looks like. Okay? Responsible employees, we try to make it as easy as we can for folks. The goal is just to get the information to us. They are not typically required to do their own investigation or to try to remedy things on their own. It's a collaborative effort. We speak together, we figure out how we best can resolve the concern, and then we move forward from there. Okay? And then for anonymous concerns, folks can raise their complaints anonymously. There is an anonymous call line, and so on the first slide, the slides I think will be made available to you, you'll see that there are two numbers for HDAPP, our main line, and then we have an anonymous line. I want to raise a concern, but I don't necessarily want my name associated with whatever that concern is. That's perfectly fine. We will not ask for information, we will not ask for kind of how your name or contact information, but then we ask that you don't give it either. If you call our anonymous line, the only way we can maintain that anonymity is if we don't have the information to begin with, because we're not a confidential resource, we are the Office of Record. So that folks can call us, ask us any questions they want without fear that the institution is going to move forward on their behalf if they don't want it. Only time that people cannot use the anonymous call line is if they're making a report to us as a responsible employee, one of our faculty members or our supervisors or employees who've heard a concern. Then they have to let me know whatever they know, and they can't do so anonymously. Okay, and with that, I have about 5 minutes or less, really, for any questions, anything I was moving very, very quickly. If there's any questions or concerns before I go. Well, you have my number, and I'm always around, always available. Again, like Beetlejuice, we're here. Show up when you need us. Good luck to you at this institute. It sounds just like a really wonderful time. I wish I could participate as well, but I gotta, be out there monitoring sexual harassment. So, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so all of these slides and all of the resources that she discussed will be available on the website if you have any questions, and you can always ask one of us. You guys see the pretty picture. Okay, here we go. Alrighty, so now I'm going to introduce Martin Kohlberger, and he is a researcher at UT Austin, and he is also going to speak to you as a representative for the Society for Study of Indigenous Languages of the Americas, SCILA. So we'll listen to Martin now.
This is where I break UC Davis Yeah, so thank you so much for the introduction. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Martin Kohlberger, and I will be an instructor here at the Summer Institute with my colleague Kathy, teaching a course in Amazonian languages. But for a moment, I want to speak to you as a representative of the Society for the Study of Indigenous Languages of the Americas, or SILA. And SILA, as many of you are aware because we have many members in the room, is a sister society of the LSA. We try to be present in as many LSA events as possible. We're prominently there at the annual meetings, but we also try to be at as many of the summer institutes and other events as possible. So the first thing I'd like to do is, like Georgia earlier on, I want to acknowledge that the land that we're on is the traditional land of many indigenous nations. In particular, like Georgia mentioned, for thousands of years, this was the home of Patwin people, of Plains Miwok people, also other nations before them, but crucially it continues to be the home of the Yotcha-Dihi-Wentu Nation, but also the home of other indigenous people who do not have federal recognition. And these indigenous nations have remained committed over all the centuries, despite political changes and treaties agreed to and perhaps broken. Individuals have remained committed over the centuries to the stewardship of the land. And so for this reason, but SILA in general, and the Institute wants to acknowledge this, and we want to acknowledge the reclamation and reconciliation initiatives of the Patwin Nation, the Plains Miwok Nation, and other indigenous people in the region to assert their sovereignty. I would also like to take a moment to explain that as of last year, it is a policy of the LSA and of SILA to acknowledge territory, to acknowledge indigenous history and present of the places where we meet for conferences and for other events like the summer school. And the importance of making an acknowledgement of that sort is obviously to some degree self-evident, but it can also be perceived, and this is sometimes voiced by people, it can be perceived as disingenuous to make a statement of the sort in the face and in the context of repeated discrimination, disenfranchisement, and marginalization of Native people in this country, and the fact that they've had to deal with this historically, but the fact that they continue to have to deal with this to this day. So, as a non-Native person, I also share this response sometimes when we hear these statements being read out that you feel, well, the statement is good, but how far does this get us in terms of achieving reconciliation? But we have heard from Native colleagues and from various Native groups in areas where we have met that this is important to them, and we want to be committed to helping building those bridges and doing our part. And so we also encourage you to find ways of doing your part in your spaces, whether that's your course that you're teaching here or just generally your what you can do within linguistics in your academic roles. And you might ask, well, what does this mean specifically in terms of me as an instructor? Does this mean I should acknowledge land at the beginning of my course? You're encouraged to by local indigenous groups that we've been in touch with. You are encouraged to do this because it does put a little seed of maybe interest in students who might not be aware of the native history of this land to even find out what is the history and present of this land in native terms. So you are encouraged to do that, but there's also other things that we can do. And if I can be as bold as doing this, I'm just on a personal level curious how many of the instructors at this institute identify as Native. I'll show of hands. So we should remind ourselves that we're in the most linguistically and ethnically diverse corner, one of the most ethnically and linguistically diverse corners of North America. California actually has the highest number of Native American inhabitants of any U.S. state. That's actually more than the native population of Arizona and Oklahoma combined. And so it's interesting for us to reflect that it seems, I don't know if I missed any hands, but it seems like we don't have any Native representation amongst faculty. So we've been asked by Native members of SILA to take a moment to reflect on the structures that prevent Indigenous people from being invited to be, or even wanting to be, faculty at events like this. And so I'm, in this sense, just being the voice of this at the moment, but I think it's something that we can all take a moment to reflect on. So thanks for your time, and hopefully we can move forward with reconciliation in general.
It's on the website. So the statement is on our website, and I'm going to introduce Kristen Greer right now. She'll show you right now. So Kristen's going to show you some.
And I understand that this statement is, this particular statement, because one of the concerns about statements is whether the local groups in the area even agree with what's being said in the statement. So this is done. So this has been consulted with, and so this is something that is locally relevant and appropriate.
Kristen's going to show you a little bit about her.
Perfect.
Which you've all checked before you came, right? You're looking at her now.
So yeah, keeping this brief since I know you probably are all hungry and want to eat. And as Georgia said, probably you've already seen the website, hopefully you have. A couple things to point out, just based, some of the things that came up in the presentations. We have under About, if you go to About, and then our 2019 UN International Year of Indigenous Languages. Here, sorry, oh my goodness, it's been a long time since I've used a Mac. I had a Mac for a long time, then I switched again. Here's the announcement, which you, of course, can feel free to drop in your syllabi if you would like, or you can just announcing it, as Martin mentioned, in your classes. So we have it here. We also have, the other thing I wanted to point out, Georgia was mentioning all of our wonderful events that we have scheduled. We do have a calendar, so they're often centralized, located here. Other direction? Oh, no, weird.
Right direction.
Apparently I scroll in a different direction from normal people. Well, maybe I'm normal, or I do. So yeah, we have our calendar of events here also. That's very unintuitive. The other thing, the last thing I was going to mention is just pointing out our faculty portal, because we have lots of important information, like planning your courses, building your courses with our Oregon system. A lot of you have probably already seen this, but I just want to make sure you have those tools available to you. They're all here on our website. So I just want to point out, under About, frequently asked questions and guides, which are maybe not intuitive, but if you go here, and again, scroll to the very bottom. Our faculty portal, which we've been telling lots of you about, and again, a lot of you have probably already been using. It's password protected. The password is included in all of our emails with you guys. It's LSA instructor, all lowercase, no spaces, but it's already logged in here for me. So I have the faculty portal. We put important announcements up at the top. It's like one important announcement to be aware of. All of our Thursday classes that are scheduled for the 4th of July will be meeting on Wednesday instead, July 3rd. And nothing on July 4th. So an announcement about that here. Some probably information that probably isn't quite as relevant now that you're all here and know the deal with co-teaching and with housing. You've all arranged for your housing. For travel, there is some information about submitting your receipts to get reimbursed for your travel, so definitely please start doing that. We have the information here. Course design, Raul was already mentioning some of the highlights about how to design your courses. But then some important things like here, me wanting to give you the tools. Finding your classroom. So Chloe created a lovely video where she shows you where to go because it's not intuitive on Oregon. How you find your classroom assignment. There's this video here. And then of course, there's links to all the classrooms so you can see what your classroom looks like. Although of course now you can just go and look at your classroom now that you're here, which is wonderful. And then we're using Oregon here too. Chloe, again, is the lovely face behind the voice for all of these videos, telling you how to access things and put things on your Oregon course sites. So like logging in, where you go creating, posting announcements and general communications, like sending an email to your students. This video will have information about that. And then at the very bottom, some new things that I've been recently adding in the last couple of days. How to do your class enrollment, reserving office hour space. So Raul's mentioning that we do have a space available for office hours, also 105. We have a sign up for this. It's just a simple doodle poll. But note on the doodle poll, if you sign up for a particular slot on a Monday, that won't be recurring. So if you want the same slot on Monday, make sure you sign up for each Monday, because they're all separated. So we have this to reserve office hour space. Making copies, we finally kind of got our ducks in a row for how copies can be arranged. We have a couple copy cards that you can check out from our info desk. Our volunteers have all been trained about how to give you the copy card, how to get it back from you, and how to give you instructions about how to use the copy card to print and to make copies. So all that is there for you. also want to know what is our info desk. Also our checking desk right now for students. Yeah, questions? Absolutely.
One thing I mentioned to Raul, and he put me on to Peter said he would take care of it, is we were all thinking, we love to go to other people's courses. And
Oh, yeah.
there was no way to tell where they are, so Raul said, and Peter said that the room numbers for all courses would be posted in Olson in Peter, the brief time to do this, so, I don't know, maybe you could send out a message to everybody.
Yeah.
Posting all the numbers.
It does seem like that's something Urban should just do. They should make available the
Yeah.
locations for the courses, but again, there are some things that Urban does well and some things that it doesn't do well. I think that's
I mean, it's a great part of the institute.
right, absolutely. No, and we're encouraging you to sign up for other classes. If you officially enroll, you'll know where it is, but if you want to just sit in and absolutely. Yeah, we will definitely work with you. That's great. Yeah.
Just also with parents, we were also thinking that it might be nice for those of us who have developed some device to have it in a folder that we can all go to, so that we go to each other's slide. And like, I might want to go to the third class of someone else's course, and not necessarily and want to know what's being covered, right? So if you want to drop in on someone's course, it would be really helpful to know if they're going to do that.
Absolutely. We can work on, we'll create a shared box folder or some kind of centralized location that we can add all of you to.
I think that works all fine.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, give us a couple days, but we will definitely work on making something like that available. That's great. Yeah.
So I was looking before for like a code of conduct on the website, and I really appreciate the discussion we're having here, but I was wondering if I missed it, or if you could show where the information that came up today might be on the website after today.
We don't have it on the website yet. We'll post the slides that Denisha presented. We will make sure.
Have a section or do you have an idea? I know it's hard to say with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think we have it yet. We'll work on making it available and make it really clear where it is.
I thought maybe even one of those like buttons that's on the front page would be
At the
for the
top.
students to see too.
Yeah, it's getting a little crowded up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's
Sorry,
something really
more
important.
relevant is the website.
Yeah, no, that's great. Something for us to be absolutely think about. Yeah, we did that. Behind you, sorry, then. Yeah. Go ahead, sorry, I'm black. Sorry, I'm black, that was not helpful. I'm sorry, I'm bad at directing questions.
That's okay. If we want to, simple question, but if we post an announcement on the system, do students get an email telling them that there's been an announcement? No.
Yeah.
So I
They
actually,
should.
sorry?
It sounds like they should. I haven't seen as much on the student side of what happens, but
So I have a copy of Casey all of their email addresses to know that I was contacting them. There's a place on the website where it looks like you can send an email message to all your students. I almost did that, and then I realized, in fact, it's all the students at the institute.
oh,
I can do it. I almost did it. Is there in fact no way to do it?
Okay, so Chloe can answer some of your questions about Orban. I will try. I promise you, once we answer your questions, there will be food and drink. Patience, please. Patience, please. What are you pressing? I don't know. What is that?
I heard that.
I don't know this for media.
And Chloe, having made all the videos, is much more familiar with some of the ins and outs of Orban than I am, but I don't know everything. You're right.
recommend doing an announcement if you want to do just your students, and it should give them an email.
So Fernanda has a trick. Fernanda Ferrer, she has a trick. What she did, someone figured it out. So she downloaded the roster of her students, which has connected with it emails. And then she just uses her own Outlook email program to then, Santiago, do you have your own way of doing it? I can't hear you. It's chaos.
I know my class. It's bizarre, but when you go to new email, you can
Can you
pick
come-
all the classes.
can you come-
pick any random class.
Can you,
go back.
Santiago, can you come here, please? Thank you. Please show us how to use Orbit.
I don't know if it's replicated, but I did every one.
It's my colleague Santiago Beretta.
I don't know. Well, there's a computer. Your message. Did you do messages or Instagram? I don't know. No, see. How do you do that?
Oh, here we go, class.
Oh, wait. Summer 2019, summer 2019. Okay, thank you, Santiago. And then, so this person, so this is our test
I
class.
can see my class, yeah.
Yeah, so to go to the demo class. So this is our demo class. So yeah, thank you, Santiago. So when you go to messages, if the default is directory, so that's everyone in the institute, all the participants. If you go to class and then select the semester, summer 2019, the default is 2018, obviously we're out of that, and then pick your class, which you should only be in one, hypothetically, then you should be able to click all of your student names or just press add. And yeah, there we go. I can make a video on it and post it. Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, I made some, I don't know if I posted them, but I did make some videos about what the student view looks like. See what it looks like. Oh.
So you can see what there's.
Some of the.
You could, so if you give us, we can make you a student, and then you can be a student in your own class, and if you can see your student view, that's probably the best way to do it.
We're still learning the Orbit system, so work with us. Yeah.
There's a lot of shit. Yes. So there is a video about the grade book, and so yeah, it's under grades and grade book. You can ignore independent study, choose your class, you can make assignments, etc. And yeah, so that's actually a video about it. You have to set up your grade book, and yeah, so you can
Percentages.
exactly, yeah.
And then we just leave it there, you guys imagine.
We download them, and we actually pass them along to the LSA. And I think they officially, issue. Any other questions? Yeah, also you can ask us individually, yes.
I teach at 8 tomorrow, and I want a chance to look at the room.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about the IT setup? And
Yeah, you go to that, the classroom lookup. So where I showed you the video for finding your classroom assignment, underneath are links to all of the classrooms. And it'll tell you, it'll show you photos, and it'll also talk to you about the specs for the rooms, like the AV, the audio visual setup that's in it. It's a really standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think teaching at UCLA and teaching at WashU, it wasn't hard to transition from teaching at Davis.
Yeah, there should be VGA, HDMI
Yeah.
setups.
And there's dongles attached in many cases.
Right.
To
The dongles don't always work. We recommend bringing
bring
your
your
own.
own, you should bring your own.
Right, and there is a number in every classroom in case the tech fails. You can call UC Davis's like IT and
And there's volunteers that are info desk also, who can help you.
One difference is we don't have a computer in the room, so there's
No,
no way to
we
use
don't.
a USB switch. The computer cries out. Right, the computer cries out.
Improvise? You can improvise?
Oh, I can't provide.
Oh, there is document projectors in the room. So, like if you have, if you print something out and then you can display it and they'll be able to and write on it. There's no computers in the room.
We will all learn together. So exciting. Learning, what can I say? We'd like to welcome you to dinner and drinks now. So we want to let the bartender come in. They're going to set up over here. We have food outside. There's Jessie. There she is. So if you go out the doors, she will direct you along with, also our volunteers. Again, our volunteers will be wearing red shirts, and so you can ask them any questions, or they will help try to help you. They're volunteers. So
They also have orange name tags, so look for people with orange in their name tag. Those are volunteers if they're not wearing the shirt.
you can eat here. We're also going to open up their space outside. You can mingle, you can schmooze, you can sit or stand in the lobby. We have the whole space.